How have you been? Did you
I,
survive without me last week?
I survived without you. We actually had we missed you. And we had a lovely conversation with the rabbi and with Matt Smith, who's chairing the relief task force.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry I missed that. We just turned into a kind of a whole disaster.
What,
Which
dropping your,
today is turning into a whole disaster for me too.
well, tell me about dropping your kid off, your first kid at college. How'd that go?
It was really good. They do a really good job at UVA. Sorry, I'm just trying to finish rebooking my flight here. Thanks. Um, okay, done. So they did a really good job involving the parents. Like a lot of other people, kind of in and out. So we had a parent cocktail party, and then that was done by the university parents association, and then this kind of really cool tradition. There's all the Texas first years are invited to a party. It's been done, I think, about 20 years in a row.
Hmm.
So it's all just Texas first years and their parents. So it's pretty cool.
So all people,
Um,
anyone from the state of Texas will come and to that.
Anybody who's going as a first year who's from
That's
the state of
cool.
Texas. So it was awesome.
Do
So we
they
had some
feel like the
people.
Texans feel out of place or something? I mean, do they do that for like Louisiana and other states as
No,
well? Or
just Texas. Although, there's I think the university's pilot, but this has been going on for a long time. So it was
how,
fun and like a little bittersweet, it's like kind of saying goodbye, but then, we speak to him. He's been pretty good about keeping in touch and calling and texting. So and he did in fact get his laundry done last night. He texted us about that. So that's good.
how's his dorm there? I mean, they have nice dorms from what I recall when we were there.
He's in one of the older dorms, but in a great location. So I think you kind of, it's like there's like this sort of newer dorm location trade-off. The newer dorms are a little further away from the
Yeah,
center
they're
of
further
campus.
away from the staff. Yeah, they are.
So but they're all nice. They've been redone, and he got lucky, got a corner room, so it's a little bit bigger, and seems to have a great roommate. A friend of a friend from camp. So Jewish day camps doing their job, or Jewish overnight camps doing their job of bringing the world together.
Has he gone to the Brody Jewish Center yet?
He has. He's even on their Instagram, which you clearly haven't checked.
No, I don't go on every single Hillel's Instagram. I'm sure Chabad will get to him soon if they haven't already too.
It's right across from the bar that they all like to go to. Isn't that amazing? You walk down the street,
The
and there's like
Chabad or the Brody
there's
Center?
no, the Chabad. So you walk down the street, they have what's called the corner, which is like their version of the drag. And on one of the little side streets, you walk down, and the two of the most popular bars at the university are on the left, and right across from the street is Chabad.
That's smart. That's smart placement. I mean, that's just brilliant.
The Brody Jewish Center is a little closer to like where all of the fraternities and stuff are.
Yeah,
It's a really nice building.
It's gorgeous. They just added on to it. I think I told you my good friend is the emeritus, basically executive director. He still works for Hill International. Jake Rubin.
Oh yeah, you did.
Rabbi, I should say.
Too many rabbis.
Exactly.
And so they have a really nice director and assistant director. We met both of them. Both of them are UVA grads, kind of inbred, but it's been good. He went to the Camp Waju, the pre-move in, so you get to move in a couple days early, and then they take all the Jewish kids, and so it's nice because like I've been talking to other parents, and they're like, yeah, except for the ones that go to UT, they're like, yeah, they've met a few people, they're having a good time, and then like Jack's like, well, I had this pre-camp with all these kids, so like they all met kind of in a controlled setting. So it's good.
That's awesome. Well, glad he's off to a great start, man.
Thanks. I'll update you in a few weeks after his first set of tests. We'll see if he's still doing well.
Do you get his report card?
Yeah, we'll see, all right. Well, we've got a great guest today, Jessica McCormick. We'll bring her in here in just a second. She is the director of family experience for the PJ Library at the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, a portfolio that includes community partnerships, get-together, microgrants, and digital content, podcasts, creative work. There's a lot of other stuff on here. Holiday guides, grandparent stewardship, anti-Semitism interventions, and more. I'm sure she'll tell us more about that. She was another Hillel connection, the executive director of the University of Arizona Hillel. I hear there's a few Jewish kids there.
Jew of A.
Yeah, that's what they say.
I went there freshman year.
You did?
Yes, I transferred to Tulane. I was chasing after some person named Amanda Allen.
Oh, actually, I did know that. I didn't know you went to Jew of A.
Yeah, my brother-in-law also graduated from Arizona, except I didn't graduate. I went to, but yes.
There weren't enough Jews there. You had to go fully to
I had to go
Tulane.
to Tulane. Tulane's 40% Jewish. I needed that level of Jewishness in my life.
Okay. As the inaugural director of the Jewish Emergent Network, she piloted an immersive rabbinic fellowship, delivered creative racial justice and holiday programming to thousands, and knitted together a group of diverse leaders to cross-pollinate, share best practices, and maximize capacity. She lives in the Sonoran Desert out in Arizona with her husband and children. Jessica, welcome to the podcast.
Thank
And
you
there
so much
she
for
is.
inviting me. Yeah, nice to
We're
be here.
excited to have you.
Thank you. I also just moved a kid to college and was answering a lot of laundry questions last night via text. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Where's your kid in college?
So I have two, but one is a senior at American in DC. He is well established. If he has a laundry question, something is really wrong. But my middle kid just moved to NAU, to Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I hear it's a beautiful area.
Gorgeous. The weather particularly felt nice compared to Tucson, where we are.
I was just in Tucson, by the way, Jessica, for the Maccabi games. I might have run into you. Who knows?
Oh, if you were at the opening games or the reception, I was
were.
there. My husband chaired a committee. We were all up in there.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we were definitely there. We were observing mainly because our delegation went to Pittsburgh this year because of the timing, but we're hosting in 2 years. So we'll have to get some feedback from you on how to do it well.
Yep. Huge muscles on hosting.
Thank you.
We're excited about that. Well, Daniel's excited. I'm waiting for the hype to build up a little bit before I get really excited.
It's amazing for the community, and it takes a lot of social capital. Just, everybody has to do something.
Matt, don't worry. Matt will be hosting like 10 people in his house. We'll see.
My wife has me on 14 committees already. I didn't even know this. Well, that's exciting. You move your kid to college.
Yeah, now I just have a little 8-year-old at home. It's pretty delightful.
Oh, wow. You put some space in between there.
I got a spread.
College and then 8. That's like my youngest brother and I, we were 9 years apart. So
yeah, I had a little tiny baby at their joint bar mitzvah, my 2 older kids who are only a year apart in age. So we did it together, and I had a little guy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about the PJ Library. How did this start? Well, first of all, I guess, what is it? Because I know what it is because I had kids and we used to get the books. But what is the PJ Library? Let's start there.
Sure, great. So PJ Library is at its core what most people think of a book program. We deliver books, a ton of books, 650,000 books a month, into the homes of families raising Jewish children. They're Jewish themed books, and it's absolutely free to families. I can tell you more about how it started, but that's what it is at its core. And of course, it's also so much more. We work with 188 implementing partner communities across the US and Canada. Austin is one of them. We are in 40 countries around the world. And beyond the books, we have a suite of podcasts, holiday guides, gifts, all sorts of resources that we put into family homes and into communities.
That's awesome. Okay, so how did it start?
So first came the Harold Grinspoon Foundation. My big boss, Harold Grinspoon, is now a 96-year-old philanthropist. And back in 1991, he started his own foundation. He was really thinking about helping connect people to the vibrancy of Jewish life. He was shaped by the anti-Semitism and the Holocaust growing up, and he was thinking about future generations of kids. So he launches his foundation, and there are several other concurrent projects of the foundation, which are all amazing, including one around Jewish camp. And maybe a decade into the foundation, his daughter-in-law, Winnie Sandler Grinspoon, who is now our president at PJ, was hosting a Pesach Seder. She's having a Passover Seder, and for an Afikomen present, she gave Jewish books to the kids. And Harold was stunned. Yeah, it's cool, right? It's a little bit different, perhaps. And I don't know if he was expecting them to be disappointed, but he was certainly stunned and surprised to see how much they loved them. And right around the same time, Harold had, I believe, heard an interview with Dolly Parton, or maybe read an interview about her Imagination Library, which is a book program that puts free books into the homes of children across North America. And so, at least how the story goes, he called Dolly and said, "Tell me how you do this thing, this Imagination Library." And she did. And so between Winnie's Afikomen gift and Dolly Parton, PJ Library was born. And that
How do you have Dolly Parton's phone number?
How did he have Dolly? How does anybody at that echelon have any phone numbers? You just, right? You
Fair
just
enough.
find the people you need to find. I'll tell you something. I was in a record store about a year ago with my little guy, with my Akiva, and he saw a Dolly Parton record, And he said, oh, look, it's Harold's friend. And my husband and I were like, oh, we have some music education to do with this kid, because actually Harold is Dolly Parton's friend, is the way that goes. Anyway, we launched in 2005, so 20 years into PJ Library now, and it launched in Western Mass, which is where Harold is from, and grew very rapidly.
And so tell me about the early years.
So the early years, I don't know what cohort of kids they started with in the first month, if it was like 200 kids or something, but obviously now we're up to 650,000 a month. I think we've done 60 million books overall in the 20 years. But it was just like any other startup. I wasn't there, of course, but it's lore and legend in the office place. It functioned like a startup, and like a startup, it has a creative genius at the top. Harold is himself a creative genius who has new and creative ideas all of the time. He just churns them out all of the time, and he staffed his foundation with people who were super excited to act on these ideas and to put them into the marketplace. And that's still how it works. I have a project right now that we're just getting going because Harold picked up the phone and said, here's what's on my mind. Here's what I think we should do for Jewish families.
Okay. And what are the, where do the books come from? Who comes up with these books?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you mentioned all of the things that I do at the top, and you probably heard the one thing I don't do is books. Colloquially in the office, I'm sort of like everything but the books. So the books director might have a different answer, but I can tell you basically, most of our books are sourced from we work with all sorts of different publishers, and we work with them intensively and one-on-one, and we offer great distribution for their books. But also, at a certain point, we realized we wanted to have a little bit more control over the flow of Jewish stories into the marketplace and launched PJ Publishing. So we also have our own publishing story arm. And the books themselves come from all sorts of different places. We have various author incubators, including a really innovative Sephardic stories author incubator. And you can go on our website at any time if you yourself have a story idea, and you can pitch it to us, and some of our stories come that way. And we just have made friends with tons and tons of Jewish authors in the field, and meeting more authors and illustrators every day. So they come from a pretty wide variety of places, but it's a mix of working with established publishers and our own newer publishing arm.
And is there like, you said, I don't want to focus too much on the books, but is there a committee that steers where the PJ Library goes and the ideas that come out of it and the next initiatives?
So yeah, there is a book selection committee, and they operate. It's not secretive, but they have a certain amount of sort of protection around them, because they're dealing with so much volume, and because we put out so much volume. If your kids got one book each month, what you might not realize is that each month we're putting out 9 different books for little kids ages 0 to I think 8 or 9, and then we have PJ Our Way for older kids. Those are more chapter books. And we don't repeat books. We try not to repeat books for 4 years. So 9 books a month, not repeating for 4 years. It's an incredible amount of content. And there is a committee that works with book selection, and it includes some internal staff, some external committee members. Other projects work different ways. Our holiday guides work in a different way. We sort of write those in-house, and then we always work with external experts, and who we go to on any given project could change based on the nature of the project, who we're working with.
Okay. And how many of these go out a month? You said 650,000 books a month?
Yes. Yeah, it's incredible. It's a lot of books in 40 countries.
And how many languages? Because I know that 40 countries have 40 different languages, or is there actually a little?
No, what a good question. 7 languages: English, German, Hebrew, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, and Ukrainian. Right now, there could be more down the line. I'll give you an example. My oldest son was just studying for a semester in Japan and went to shul every week, which we were very proud. Went to shul every week in Tokyo, and his Tokyo shul was also the distribution site for PJ Library in Japan. And those books are all English language books. They're coming to them in English. They maybe had a handful of Hebrew language books, but those are coming to them in English. But we have seven languages that we publish in.
And what's the growth here? Like, what was it 5 years ago? Do you know?
So I don't know what it was five years ago, but it's been a pretty steady growth trajectory. And I can't say that without saying, in Harold's heart, what he would say if he was here is, it's amazing. We're sending out so many books. And for every one child, let's just say in the US and Canada, that receives a PJ book, there are 2 who don't. We're at about 30% market share of homes raising Jewish children, which is astounding, I think. I feel very proud.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. And Harold would like us to be at 60% market share or higher. It really sits with him that for every one kid getting a PJ Library book, there are 2 who don't.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't you as a family sign up, right? It's free.
No drawbacks. No drawbacks. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if you don't get them, sign up. Tell me what else PJ Library does.
Yeah, so look, anything that sort of fits within our goal of inspiring joyful Jewish experiences. And so there are sort of older programs and newer programs. But when Harold first launched, it was never just about books. Books and music were both at the core of what he wanted to do and what we were doing at first. And as of course, you know that the marketplace has changed, and putting CDs in the mail doesn't hit the same as it did 20 years ago. And so one of the things we're engaged with right now is actually trying to figure out how to deliver music to parents. We have oodles of playlists and brilliant people working with all of the most exciting Jewish musicians curating these playlists. But how do you get people to tune in? How do you tell them to listen? So that's a project we're working on right now. We can talk a little bit more about this later, but we have these community partnerships. We work with 188 partner communities like Austin across the US and Canada. And primarily what we're doing in those communities is trying to hear what are their missions and what do we have at PJ Library that can help them fulfill their missions. And where that ends up landing in a lot of places is around family engagement. So we have a team of people in-house that think a lot about family engagement and how what we have can sort of elevate each of our partner missions. So we're working at a community level in that way. We also have our amazing holiday guides, which it depends on the ages of your kids, if any have landed in your home. It started with a Haggadah many years ago, and then we did a guide to, in the Northern Hemisphere, fall holidays, right? The holidays we're about to embark on. And then we put out...
I don't know what you're talking about. I moved mine to the spring.
I know. Why does it fall at such an inconvenient time on the Gregorian calendar sometimes? So we put out a time to hope, a fall guide. We have a time to grow, a fall guide, a time to hope, which is sort of what we would experience as the winter holidays. And we are just putting the finishing touches on a time to gather, which fills out the rest of the year with the spring holidays. And then a 2-part Shabbat guide, which is really exciting. And then we're still thinking in this guide format, and it's a very nascent project, but we are working right now on a large anti-Semitism intervention, or said differently, a resilience project for Jewish families, filling a gap that we think really exists, which is how do parents talk to young children about anti-Semitism in the home? There are all these amazing resources curricularly for congregational life. There are all these amazing organizations, but there's a gap for talking about it in the home. And so we do these holiday guides. We also have a suite of podcasts with over 1 million downloads. We have 4 different podcasts. We have gifts that we put in the mail. We have this music initiative, and we talk to grandparents, and then we have get-togethers. And please stop me if you want to dig down into any of this, but get-togethers I love talking about. I could talk all day because it's our microgrant program, and it is all our money, and we put it into communities like yours with no cap attached. And it's for families. You have to be a PJ Library subscriber, but it's for families to host and gather with other Jewish families. And what's beautiful about this is A, the Jewish families are gathering to do something Jewish with very few strings attached, and B, that PJ Library can help your communities. Many communities want to launch microgrants of this sort of their own, and we say, just use our money. Just take it, use our money.
Yeah, so one of the questions I was going to ask you is, how are you keeping up with sort of current events in Jewish society? But you answered that. So anti-Semitism is an area that you're trying to bring up. Are there other like recent events, obviously October 7th and anti-Semitism, that have changed the way that PJ Library is trying to communicate over time?
It's a good question. So first, I'll go back to that Sephardic Stories initiative that I mentioned, because I think that's just one way that we're trying to think about the really diverse Jewish world and what stories we're telling and how people see themselves represented. I know that if the books team were here, they would want to talk about mirrors and windows, which is a pedagogical concept that we didn't come up with. A teacher named Emily Stile, an educational expert a long time ago, came up with it, but which we really use to guide our content at PJ Library. And the idea is that kids need to see themselves reflected as in a mirror in the content we're putting out, and they need to be able to look through windows at a multiplicity of Jewish life. And so projects like the Sephardic Stories Initiative and help to make sure that we're balancing the stories and bringing all sorts of stories to the Jewish to our Jewish subscribers. I would say anti-Semitism is the biggest recent change, but I think we were sort of encouraged after October 7th to move into a space that perhaps we'd been a little hesitant to move into. Some of our middle grade books absolutely deal with hard subjects, but historically, we have not done a lot of storytelling around the Holocaust, death, tough topics, anti-Semitism. And so it will be interesting to see how it lands, and we will land it very carefully, very differently than putting something in every house every month, right? We have to tread differently and think about our approach differently. And then I will say that because we speak to so many families, after any huge world event, including October 7th, we try to be really responsive. We try to give families, we are not the experts in trauma, but we talk with experts in trauma, and we try to give parents and families resources that might help them navigate a really tough time. After October 7th, Yom HaAtzmaut, after October 7th, we also did put a couple of things in the mail to differentiated age groups, talking about how do we celebrate Israel in a year like this when we're still feeling so much grief and it's feeling so raw and it can feel hard to talk about. How do we celebrate in a year like that? So we really try to focus on talking to our base in the ways that we think they might be receptive to, in ways we think they might need, and in ways that they tell us they need to be talked to.
Actually, you bring up an interesting point. And I'll tell a story real quick. You might know the author, Wendy Mogul, who wrote the book, The Blessing of a Skinny and The Blessing of a B-. And she told the story once that when she went to publish the book in China, or I don't remember if it's China or Japan, but it might have been both. But she said that she couldn't call it The Blessing of a B-. They had to call it The Blessing of an A-. So it actually raises the question, like when you talk about things like Yom HaAtzmaut, or just even before October 7th, or when things are hopefully more peaceful, do you have to sometimes tailor the stories or send different kinds of books? Because what might resonate for a Hebrew speaking audience or a Hebrew reading audience may be different from an American or English reading audience. I'm just curious, or different countries, of 40 different countries, that's 650,000 people. There's a lot of diversity, I'm sure, in that group of people.
What a good question. I mean, right. And do the readers in Argentina care about getting 10 books about what happened on the Lower East Side of New York during the period of mass Jewish immigration? Probably not, for the most part, right? So there is differentiated content around the world, including, in Israel, we run 2 programs, Sifriyat Pijama and Maktabat Al-Fanus, a Hebrew language program and an Arabic language program. You can imagine that those books also have extremely differentiated content. We're not sending Rosh Hashanah books to our Arab Israeli subscriber families. And we do try to be reactive, but I think the most important thing to us is sending good stories. So the books may be a little bit less reactive, although we are always looking to curate excellence, and we are always looking to bring in a certain amount of stories each year from Israel. And those don't have to be explicitly about Israel, but the best of Israeli storybooks, we want to be able to bring those to American audiences, to Canadian audiences, to audiences around the world. I will tell you where we really can do a lot of work, though. One of the pieces of my portfolio is our digital content, and we have a treasure trove. We have an incredible team doing our digital content, a treasure trove of resources and blog posts and activities and videos. And we can be very responsive there. And all of that can tie to books because our library is so deep. And so digital content is one place where we're really able to be responsive and differentiate for various audiences and react to world events.
I have another question going back to you. I know Matt and I are amazed that you have 30% market share. I mean, I know, I agree with Harold. We should aspire for higher. And
You're the only thing that 30% of Jews agree on. Like you can't get any.
But I'm
You
curious.
said it.
I mean, one of the things I admire about PJ Library, and maybe we can bring this more to a local Austin. You can tell us about what you're seeing in Austin compared to other communities, but is y'all have great data. I mean, you really analyze, you provide great data to us as your partner at Shalom Austin and our kind of federation role that we're in. And I'm curious, of that 30%, is that a population that typically you see that would affiliate no matter what? Or are you seeing that you're penetrating an audience that typically wouldn't be the low-hanging fruit? I hope you understand my question. Like, are y'all penetrating a market that actually we're trying to work on together to try to get more engaged Jewishly or make more accessible to the Jewish community?
It's a great question. We run a big study every 3 years, our triennial, although with COVID, I think we went a 4th year. Look, I don't think we can get to 30% market share without going well beyond the core affiliated. That said, we also do go into a lot of those homes, right? We're in homes of people who belong to synagogues, who are going to Jewish summer camps, who are going to day school or supplementary Jewish education. And we reach beyond that. And like you and like every one of our partners, we are trying to figure out how to reach beyond where we're reaching. And windows and mirrors, which we were talking about before, may play a factor there, right? What families aren't we reaching as easily? How do we reach them? Do they have allergies to institutional Jewish life? We love working with our partners at federations and JCCs. Primarily, we have some synagogues, some JFCSs, but for the most part, federations and JCCs. And how can we reach beyond our current market share? So I would say both. We're definitely reaching a lot of the core engaged audience, although every once in a while, you'll meet a core engaged Jewish person and say, hey, PJ Library, and they'll say, what's that? Which is great because we sign them right up. But we are thinking all of the time about how to reach beyond, just like all of you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you, just looking at the heat maps that we're able to put up on a screen, that you can tell it's not just the core engaged audience because of how geographically diverse our subscribers are. I mean, it's all over. I mean, we've someone subscribed in Taylor, Texas, which is going to become a mega community because there's a big factory being built out there right now, but it's pretty far away from the Austin, kind of traditional Austin Jewish community.
Right. Anywhere where there are jobs, there are going to be Jewish families, though. And that, it does surprise. We have these heat maps, Matt, that we bring in and we show our implementing partner communities. Here's where your subscribers live. And it can be quite surprising, especially when you see clustered activity in places that you don't expect, but it can really help you guys. Listen, we have our own data. We're also looking at external data. In 2025, there was the Jewish Families Today report from Rosoff Consulting. You may have read about it in eJewish Philanthropy, but they identified a couple critical needs for engaging non-Orthodox families. And the first was like step-by-step guides for Jewish ritual and life, ensuring easy access. And the second was launching microgrant programs to empower families to create unique Jewish home experiences. And in this case, it was confirmation for Instincts. We had already been doing this get-together program and had just scaled it. But it's really important for us not only to look at our own data, but to utilize field data to help guide our work.
Yeah, I wonder if you guys have data that is like sort of leading edge data. What I mean by that is there, post October 7th, we're seeing it in the college world where all these Jewish kids are applying to the Southern schools more so than the Northern schools. There was a big article in the
Atlantic last week. Yeah.
And I wonder, have you seen the heat maps and the addresses that you're sending to? Have you seen the demographic change since October 7th? So
I can't speak as much to post October 7th. I'll tell you what we can see on our end is COVID and the migration patterns of Jews post COVID, right? We get the change of addresses. So we know exactly how many Jews left urban areas, where they went, when they started to trickle back into urban areas. And we think about that a lot. And in fact, recently, I won't go into the details here of like our new business plan of how we work with our implementing partner communities and how we split costs and things like that. but we made some significant changes that in part reflected some of those geographical shifts, because we want communities like Austin to be able to serve a wider catchment area, if you will, of subscribers without having an additional financial burden for however many subscriptions that might represent. We want people to be able to serve beyond where they've traditionally been serving if there are Jews there who are looking to engage in Jewish life. And we're a really good tool for that, right? We're a low barrier entryway to Jewish life, and they get a book every month in an envelope that says Shalom Austin on it. And that gives a real feel-good feeling. And we hope our partners can sort of capitalize on that.
Yeah, one of the things Daniel's told me is that the PJ Library is the only point of contact for some families, right? It's like they're not involved in Jewish life in any other way, but they sign up for PJ Library. So it's a great source of outreach to the community.
Yeah, and that's a sorry to cut you off, Daniel. I'm curious what you have to say, but it's also, we think about that a lot with these holiday guides. We are not trying to supplant anything out there, but it is something we think about. And these guides offer so many access points. So they're excellent for kids and families who are in day school and who have supplementary education. But also, we are thinking about those families where it's their only Jewish access point. And we felt sort of an obligation to put something other than storybooks in the home.
Yeah, I think it's been a great resource. And we do partner with the congregation. We during the summer, when the congregations are not doing their own young family kind of outreach programs, we host PJ picnics, basically pizza picnics. And we get well over 100 people at these things about 3 times a year, 3 times each summer.
Didn't you just have one like a week ago or something?
We had one last week. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The last one this summer for Labor Day weekend. And they're very well attended. And people come from all over to be a part of it, especially when there's no traffic. They'll travel a little bit, but it definitely engages people. And the work that we're doing in young family engagement now, which we've been investing more and more dollars and resources into, could not have happened without PJ Library first being here in Austin for well over a decade. So
you guys are killing it. I don't know if you know that, and I don't know how good our demographics are, but according to our demographics, you guys have over 45% market share in terms of how many PJ subscribers there are in your area. That's like gangbusters for us. We love it.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. We're about to have another demographic study, which I think y'all partner with the Cohen Center as well. Yeah. So it'll be able to further inform our demographics together. But, I think, because I know that's y'all did those studies that came out a few years ago, but it's incredible to see the growth. I show our board every year kind of a heat map, an updated heat map. And I show them like 2016 when I started 9 years ago to today. And they're just amazing, the visual growth of Austin. Like it's become greater Austin. And it's becoming Central Texas. We're almost up at Temple now, which is pretty far north. So we're definitely in Sun City, Georgetown.
And growing in all sorts of ways, right? You guys, have you had a big influx of Israelis? Is that maybe what
we have?
Yeah.
We have a good partnership here with the Israeli American Council, and they believe there's about 1,500 Israeli families. Wow. So, I mean, you can imagine, Matt and I joke about this, but Israelis have like 4 or 5 children each nowadays because they understand that the replacement needs. So, that's like 5,000-6,000 people potentially. And if you think about a population about 40,000 Jews, they're a pretty big market share of that. So
huge market share.
Yeah, there's more and more Hebrew spoken to the J every day.
There is. It means Matt can't understand a word. It's great.
Not a word. I just thought. I now remember my question. So I'm also curious in this changing sort of Jewish world post October 7th, where you're trying to find, people are trying to find more Jewish connection. Do you get more requests for these micro grants to try to bring people together? Have you seen that increase?
It's such a good question. I'm actually super curious what's going to happen this year, because this is a program that we scaled up, and we think a lot of parents are familiar with this, right? One Table exists. There are some other microgrants for different sort of demographic communities, but not a big one that hits our exact demographic. So we've been running it for a long time. Last year was the first year we scaled it to all subscriber families in the US and Canada, but we started at Hanukkah time. We needed a little extra time. Typically, we would launch a season before Rosh Hashanah. So this year is the first year. Our first email goes out tomorrow. Our postcards dropped in the mail last week. And so this will be our first fully scaled full scope of the Jewish calendar year. And I'm curious to see what happens. We tried to remove a lot of the barriers this year to rethink it from a family's perspective to make it as easy as possible. But we hear a lot of good feedback. And listen, last year we had over 5,000 applications. And at each of our get-togethers, there are very few requirements. Listen, it can't be like a birthday party or like your family's Seder or a shul's form party. And you have to have, in addition to your own family, you have to invite at least 2 other Jewish families. So we had at least 15,000 families attend a get-together last year during this sort of short season, which we think is amazing. And I would like to blow it out of the water this year. And my theory is enough people just have to know about it and understand that people really want this. And even if they don't need the $100, which we hope they'll take, even if they don't need those $100, if we could give them the resources through our website and materials, if we could give them just the inspiration, just the feeling that they're totally capable of hosting something Jewish and that it can be really low barrier, then we'll have succeeded. Because we believe somebody who hosts a get-together, and then maybe another one and another one, because we reimburse for several, you don't have to stop at one, might then get plugged into the community in other ways, right? It's a form of a leadership pipeline if you get somebody hosting.
Yeah, I mean, my wife will tell you, she'll be the first person to tell you that she got a call to be a table captain at a book lovers luncheon 20 years ago, and now she basically runs the J, except for Daniel.
She still runs me too, believe me.
Yeah, that's right, the lay leaders. Do you have a sense for how many mixed families you have? Meaning like one Jewish parent?
Right. I don't have the number in front of me, but I think it's I don't want to say the wrong thing. I think it's probably approaching a majority, probably a slim majority, but a huge amount of our families are multi-faith families. And when we ask questions about that, we also want to understand, what else is going on in the home. How are Jewish grandparents involved? How are non-Jewish grandparents involved? We offer our grandparent program to Jewish and non-Jewish grandparents. We want to involve the whole family. We don't want to create barriers to access, but we're very aware that a large amount of people we serve come from multi-faith families that are raising children in one way or another. We want our books to reflect that, but more than that, we just want there to be no barriers to these families. We don't want anybody to think that they're not Jewish enough to get our materials, in their home and in their family.
Yeah, and I wonder how the holiday guides affect, like if a kid's celebrating Hanukkah and Christmas, for example, right?
Right.
The holiday guide may be, really important to them.
Yes. So when we do focus grouping and when we survey the holiday guides, in pilot form before they go out, we make sure that we're speaking to multi-faith families, and we make sure to include non-Jewish parents in focus groups. It's really important for us to hear how they experienced it. Did it feel accessible for them, right? We don't want you to we want you to be able to pick up a guide, and this is a tough order. And if you have a ton of pre-existing knowledge, for there to be content for you in here that's vibrant. And if you have no pre-existing knowledge, for it to offer you many access points. It's not an easy task. The creative team that puts these together is, I think, quite brilliant, because it's extremely challenging to give people those different pathways into the holidays.
Yeah. So Jessica, one thing we haven't talked about as much is how does this all get paid for? I mean, you mentioned earlier the idea came out of, Harold's family, and obviously he's put his own support behind it. And one of the things I love about Harold is the expectation that there's a partnership with the local communities and other partners out there. Do you want to speak a little bit about that, and maybe, a little bit?
I'd love to talk about that.
Please.
Yeah, love to talk about that. So listen, Harold and the foundation have been extremely generous and still fund a significant portion of our budget. It's incredible what this man and this family have done. In my opinion, it's the easiest job I've ever had in my life. In many ways, it's also the hardest job in some ways. But I wake up every morning so grateful to work for this family. And we rely absolutely upon our partnerships, as with Austin. We fund a majority piece of each subscription, and you guys have skin in the game. We are both in that way a funder to you and a budget line item for you, right? That's the experience of working with us, is that we underwrite a piece of every subscription. We also have We're a grant-making organization. We make grants to communities. We have the microgrant program that goes directly to families and communities, and then you fund a piece of each subscription. And in every city that works differently. Some cities have PJ Library fully endowed, so they never have to worry about that budget line. Some people have a core group of donors who just love the program and are funding it on a year-over-year basis. And some people are actively fundraising. It also depends on the size of the community, right? How easy it is to fundraise for PJ Library. And then additionally, nationally and internationally, we work with a number of co-funders, other foundations, but also private donors. And that can vary. We have the Alliance group of donors, which if you look at the back of our book, you can see the donors that have made major commitments to the endeavor. And we also work with individual donors every single day. We bring in every gift matters. We have an advancement department, just like anybody else, and take gifts on a day-to-day basis. And we love when people give to PJ Library. And then sometimes it's on a project-by-project basis. You can imagine that when we go into our first major anti-Semitism resilience intervention, that the funders who are interested in that might look a little bit different than the funders who are interested in some of our other day-to-day work.
Well,
Yeah, that's incredible. I do like the concept of the partnership. We're getting close to the end of our time here. I guess my final question for you is what comes next for PJ Library? What's the future look like?
It's a great question. So we're going to keep doing the core of what we're doing. And I don't think any of us will rest. Harold won't let us rest when he won't let us rest until we get to those two kids, for every kid who gets one, there are two who don't. And we plan to keep innovating, and that is still coming from the top, but also obviously, like at any organization, great ideas come from all levels of our organization. And so we're continuing with the guide model. We're thinking a little bit about the B'nai Mitzvah years and how we could help families get ready for that. Not how to have a party, but maybe how Jewish values might be relevant to their teenager. And what does that look like? After we sort of get the first edition of this anti-Semitism suite of materials out into the field, we'll have a serious conversation about if there are other hard topics that we have a place to tackle. And we'll continue, I think, expanding in terms of the diverse stories we're telling. Stories are at the heart of Jewish peoplehood, and stories are at the heart of what we do. And so whether it's putting a new form of music in the mail or a future suite of guides, we're thinking about Torah and Talmud stories all the time. We've done some toe dipping in one of our podcasts. We wonder about, telling the narratives of our ancestors. I think the key is that we try to stay in a learning stance at all times and try to be really flexible, which can be hard, but is also really exciting.
That's awesome. I do have one follow-up question. You may not have the answer to, but it just popped into my mind. So, one of the things that Kim and I think about a lot, and Daniel knows this, is how do you connect your kids to Judaism and keep them Jewish, right? Like we have this Exodus problem, no pun intended, where people are born Jewish and they may or may not be so Jewish when they grow up. And I'm wondering if there's any type of data you have out there about kids who are given PJ Library books and feeling close to and staying Jewish throughout their lives.
That's a great question. We try to get at some of that. Listen, I would say we're just starting to be able to answer that question. One of the really exciting things, and actually, I think there's a family in Texas recently who we saw a PJ Library subscriber who just signed her daughter up for PJ Library. But we're 20 years old. So we're only just now starting to see second generation PJ Library subscribers, which for an organization, I mean, right, our heads are exploding about this all the time. It's so exciting as we start to see these PJ babies who the first thing the parents do, they know to do it already. They don't have to hear about us. They don't have to be told by their parent. They're just like, oh, I had a child. I signed them up for PJ Library, just like I was signed up for PJ Library. So that's amazing. And I don't think we know yet what kind of impact that will have longitudinally. But we do try to ask questions about involvement. And we certainly have a lot of anecdotal feedback that says that PJ Library really matters to families and acts as a Jewish through line and a consistent. And that was part of Harold's original vision, that we're going to land these books every month in their homes, or 11 months out of the year. We often send a gift in a 12th month, but we're going to land these in the home. So it's always there, always fresh content, and gives them a real arc of experience.
Love it.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. All the work that you guys do.
Well, we think it's incredible the work that you're doing. You have a great team there on the ground. I know you work with a different Jessica on my team, Jessica Korsunski. But we've been so impressed, especially, it's not every community that is growing exponentially can't keep up with the growth. And from what we're seeing, you guys are doing an amazing job.
We appreciate your
Don't
partnership.
give Daniel too many compliments. We don't
It's
need
not
his head
me.
getting any bigger.
Don't worry, Matt. It's the team. Don't worry.
Okay. As long as it's not you.
It's not me. It's the team.
All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks, Jessica, for being with us.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, well, it was great to have you. And we'll see you next week here on The Rabbi and the Other Guy.